Hi, my darlings. So, following the conversation that we were having yesterday, Chris asked me, was there any reason why I keep talking about things to do with when I die and that sort of thing, and what happens afterwards, and why now? Well, I think, to be honest, the reason is that COVID-19, as I was saying yesterday, is actually making many of us focus on preparing ourselves for what might happen. Now, obviously, you can die of all sorts of things, but I've had a lot of friends die in the last 10 years who've been younger than me, and probably most of them have had cancer or other horrible things happen to them. And there's maybe been a long drawn out process leading up to their death. So families have had opportunities to say the things they want to say, to pass on things that they think are important about their lives. And with COVID, that's not happening for many, many people. They're not having the opportunity to finish their story with their families, or even to say goodbye, as we all know. During lockdown, I've had the opportunity to go through B's sentimental suitcase and Peter's sentimental suitcase that B kept of things that were important about him. And I've been looking at my own stuff. Well, actually, for years and years and years, I've been intending to write a book. So many people have asked me to, and there's so much about me that you absolutely just don't know. And I realised that from looking at things to do with being grandpa. It was a whole hidden part of them that we as their children don't necessarily know about. And I think as we get older, we do tend to remember, because obviously we're in the autumn, maybe in the winter of our lives, and it's natural to look back, to reflect. And I read something today, I do say a lot, don't I? I read something today when I was just doing my study time, and I think it's a brilliant picture, actually. And it was about when you're driving a car, obviously going forward, you don't actually look out of your rear view mirror all the time. You glance at it, but you're looking forward. You're looking for where you're heading. Yes, you glance in your rear view mirror, but you don't stare at what's behind you all the time. You're looking ahead, and the windscreen is so much bigger than the view from the rear view mirror. And that is important when it comes to our lives. Some people, and I've been guilty of this myself, and that's why I consider it so important to share it with you. Some people, we look back at the past and almost live in the past for many people, and that's not healthy. Things can happen to us, or we can do things, and we let those inform our future and our present too, if we're not careful. We can actually learn from our past. I'm not saying don't look at it, because it's wise to look at it, to appraise things and decide how you might have done things differently, to learn from those things, to not repeat things that have been mistakes. So I think it's really important not just to reflect, but to actually process those things. And of course, that's partly what happens with counselling. And as I began to tell you, I have obviously suffered from mental health issues in my past from when I was about 13 years old, they reckon, and I've had lots of counselling in the past with experts looking at what happened in my life, and of course a lot of what was wrong with me was inherited from my grandfather on my father's side. But the point is, I don't have to remain in that place, and I have told you before about how I came out of that. But what I really want to share with you is why I feel I'm the happiest I've ever been, why I am not frightened by death or what comes next. And I have to say to you that of all the things I would want to share with you, it's not actually possessions that I have, because let's face it, who's going to want any of my stuff? It's not wealth, because I haven't got that, in case you were wondering. But it's more about who I am, what I've learnt, and the amazing positives in my life. Nothing is wasted in life. Nothing. The tears we cry can be transformed and used for good. And I promise you that can be the case. But, you know, that's up to us, and it's, as I say, it's a long story. But I was thinking today about your generation and the children as well. And you're facing major issues. Actually, the world is facing major issues, which won't come as a shock to any of you. But when you look back through history, these shakings, as you might call them, have always happened when everything that we've known and depended upon and relied upon has been shaken in ways that we couldn't possibly have foreseen, and that's been throughout the history of man. And the generation who are growing up now are facing the consequences, as are you, of three major shakings. Brexit for a start. Who was anticipating what would happen with Brexit? Most of us were pretty complacent and felt that actually we would stay in Europe. And what about COVID? Nobody saw that coming. There used to be a department that focused completely on planning for pandemics. And in other parts of the world, pandemics have happened. Well, no, what do they call them? Epidemics, pandemics, SARS, MERS, Ebola, those things. But we in the West and in America have managed to escape those things pretty much. But when you look back over 100 years ago to the Spanish flu, that was a global shaking. And here we are having another massive one with COVID-19. And that has changed our lives massively. The way we are living has to change in lots of ways. But also there's Black Lives Matter. Black lives have always mattered, but we have done very little on the whole to change, to transform our societies. We've done very little to repent of the part that we as a nation have played. And it goes back hundreds of years. And actually, if you watch on BBC4 the programmes about Black lives and our history here in the UK, you'll realise that there were actually black people here centuries ago, 18 centuries ago. And I think I mentioned that in another video before. It really is worth watching. And we have to really take responsibility for the consequences of actions that we as a nation have been a part of. So, really, I have a lot to share with you. And that's all part of just why now I want to get it all documented, because I'm not going to manage to get a book written within a couple of months. And who knows when or if I should get COVID or anything else for that matter and not live to tell the tale. So, love you loads, and I haven't finished yet. Love you.